Hey everyone, guess what? I'm back again. It's Cory Ballad and I'm back. Got another video for you today. Um Very excited about is this the right piece of paper? I got my notes. I'm Cory Ballad. I'm doing another video. Go ahead and like the video, share the video on other platforms. I need more shares. Come on people. I need like 5,000 shares. Come on, let's go. Get it up, get it up. I need you to subscribe to my channel. I need you to visit my other platforms, including my blog, corysong.blogspot.com. And I am back to do another video, another review, a recap. What's the other word I use? Review, recap, reaction. That's the other word. I can't think of words most of the time. But I am excited because I am finally doing what I said I was gonna do on one of my one of my very first vlogs that I did several years ago, and I took a long break from doing videos, and now I'm back doing videos, and now I'm finally doing what I said I was gonna do. I'm gonna talk about cartoons. I delved into it a little bit. And this is not an actual review of a cartoon episode, but it's a review of someone who reviewed a cartoon. So I'm gonna break it down on what they said or whatever. Talk about what they said in that YouTube video. It's from, who's it from? Super Eyepatch Wolf, and it's called "The Fall of the Simpsons: How It Happened." And I'm just gonna talk into that, and I have another one ready, and I'm gonna do it after I get done with this one. And I did a short, I did a mini roundup thing about some other cartoon aspects. So I'm finally getting into the cartoon aspect of things, and so I am feeling accomplished today. So this was a pretty long video. It was 30 minutes. But I'm trying to do like I always do in all my other videos and just summarize some main points, evaluate what happened and what I took from it, and not just go through the whole thing. So I don't know, but I usually tend to be long-winded on these videos, it seems like. So most of my videos have been being about 15 minutes, so they might be that much as well because I haven't even started. But anyway, I said all that to say, let me change my camera angles. Okay, we're gonna stick like this. And it is "The Fall of the Simpsons: How It Happened." Super Eyepatch Wolf. So this was talking about The Simpsons, the cartoon, which I didn't really watch when I was growing up. I watched it a little bit now that I've gotten to be an adult. I don't guess I wasn't not allowed to watch it because I was pretty much allowed to watch a lot of things. But it didn't come on the main channels that I was watching. So I was watching cartoons on other channels, so I really didn't get over to The Simpsons or whatever. So I didn't really watch it when I was growing up. So it was just talking about the history of The Simpsons and how it's not as good as it used to be. It's still on right now. I think it's the 31st season. I looked it up after I watched this video, and I saw that they said it was the 31st season. So I think this was a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So, but I guess it's still reigning true now. It's just saying, because it's the whole gist of the video was it hasn't, the really best years were the first 10 years. So or like what, almost 20 years after 20 years after the first 10 years. So it's not good anymore, basically. And they were talking about how it was good and how it's not good anymore, pretty much. That's what the fastest way to summarize it is. But anyway, so they talked about a little bit of backstory in that video talked about what was happening during the time when The Simpsons came out. The Simpsons came out at the end of the 1980s. Yeah, it came on the end of the 1980s. It debuted in December of 1989, so the very, very end of the 1980s. So they talked about what was happening during the 1980s on television. There was a lot of sitcoms, family sitcoms. Cosby Show was the #1 show in America, and there was other sitcoms, a whole bunch of sitcoms after that had followed that tried to be like the Cosby Show during that time. So you had Family Ties and Growing Pains and et cetera, et cetera. They mentioned some other stuff that was on during that time as well. Alf and Different Strokes, which was really, it came out in the 70s really, but it led into the 80s. So basically all these family shows, and they were about, learning lessons and all that stuff. It was very wholesome television. And so the Simpsons came in 1989, the end of the 80s, and it was basically a seething satire about 1980 sitcoms. It wanted to be the anti-1980 sitcom or cartoon, but it was a cartoon that was like a sitcom, so it wasn't like a cartoon like in the regular sense. Cartoons were like just for children. They weren't sitcoms. There was the Simpsons. I mean, not the Simpsons. The Flintstones. Before that, it was a sitcom. That was It was more like a sitcom than a cartoon. But pretty much since then, there wasn't one that was like the Simpsons. That was basically a sitcom, but it was a cartoon form. So it was an anti-sitcom. It was a seething satire about 1980s sitcoms and what they represented and the ideals that they were trying to portray and what's the word that I'm trying to like distribute to society. And society was trying to imitate these types of ideals, and so they didn't really like that, the creators of the Simpsons, and so they created the Simpsons, and it was basically mocking all the things that people were, or families, certain type of families during that time, middle class type of families, were trying to reach in their life. So yeah. And it became the biggest cartoon. It was one of the biggest television shows in the world. It was huge. It was lots of merchandising, arcade games, merchandise, songs. I wrote all that down in my notes. And Bart was very popular. He was on a lot of T-shirts and doing different things. They were doing different things with Bart, and they said that there was a Simpsons mania. It was, everybody loved the Simpsons during that time, and it was going crazy, and it was one of the biggest shows because it was so different and contrary to everything that was on television, and it had a lot of backlash from the conservative type of people that liked those sitcoms, and those sitcoms were based on, and the people that were trying to be like those sitcoms, because they didn't like being criticized, basically. So yeah, and that probably lent to its popularity as well, because the more backlash and the controversy that you cause, in the 80s and stuff like that, you will become bigger, like Madonna and Prince and all those different controversial type of people in the media. They became more famous the more controversial they would become. So it's still true today, but it's just in a different way. But yeah, that's how it was during that time. That's what the Simpsons did. So they So then they just started talking about how the Simpsons came to be, how it was created, how it was formed. It was created by Matt Groening, I think that's how you say his name. Sam Simon and James L. Brooks. Um, and they said these three gentlemen had brought each brought an element: satire, comedy, and heart. Then something interesting, a few uh, something interesting that I did not know before, because like I said, I wasn't a follower of The Simpsons. Conan O'Brien was one of the writers on The Simpsons before he became the talk show host that he is today, and I did not know that. I did not know that at all. And it was very interesting. It said that it was a large staff of writers, which I guess it was pretty typical, I guess. But it was about 16 of them, I guess. It was and they had a very extensive writing process where they would take days writing episodes, and they would have many drafts. They would rewrite it and rewrite it and rewrite it, and it was very, that's what made The Simpsons very popular. It was very funny during that time, and it was an unconventional, different style of comedy that was not out during that time. Most of the sitcoms in history had laugh tracks. At first, during the beginning of television, it was a live audience, but then they started during the 80s. Most of the 80s, they had laugh tracks, and they said that it lent to a certain style of comedy where you would have these one-liners and it would have to be set up a certain way. But The Simpsons didn't have the laugh track, and they had a lot of room to create a different style of comedy that people really enjoyed, and one of the things that made it very popular. And it said the characters were well developed. They weren't just like regular cartoons that were doing like silly things. They had character development. They had a specific way that they were, and they acted that way during all situations, and that made them more believable. That made them more sitcom-like. It made people like them more than a regular cartoon. So that was basically what happened during the first 8 seasons that made the show very well loved and very popular, and one of the most popular shows on television. So then they were basically saying after season 8, it's a consensus that since season 8 that it hasn't been the same since. So the first 8 seasons are like the golden seasons, the golden era, the golden years. It's pretty much a story that they always tell about most shows. So it's like there's a good reason why most of the long-running shows that we really love or used to really love during that time, they would go off after 8 seasons, because after 8 seasons the writers were like they couldn't do anything else with the characters and stuff like that, so they would end the show before it got horrible. But The Simpsons did not, and now people are saying that the first 8 seasons are the best, and after that it's been a downhill. So I don't know. Is it that the show starts getting horrible after the first 8 seasons, or is it that the audience is just tired of the show? I don't know. It might be a mix of those things. I don't know. It's a discussion to have. So some of the things that started happening post season 8, the storylines they weren't so much satire anymore like they were before. They were changing the style of the show, the tempo of the show. It was more like nonsense, like silly antics, like cartoon Bugs Bunny type stuff, I guess. And the characters in their character, they weren't as consistent as they were before, so it wasn't as believable, and so they were considered to be jumping the shark, I guess. So, and there were several reasons that the narrator gave to as to why these things started to happen. The three creators, Matt Groening, Sam Simon, James L. Brooks, they had all left by that season, and then the original writing staff mostly had left by that time, and they continued to leave over the next 2 or 3 years, and then the characters just continued to decline during this through season 10, like to 11 and stuff like that. They were crediting this one episode where the principal changed, and it's known as like one of the most hated episodes, and it's what fans say ruined the show, or it's one of the reasons that the fans say that the show was ruined, started to be ruined or whatever. And so it was declining, and it's been declining ever since, pretty much. That said, what else do I have? So yeah, pretty much what it said was what I have in my notes. It said that the show was originally a parody, a satire of big sitcoms, but after so long, The Simpsons actually became what they had mocked originally, and they were a big sitcom themselves, and all the other shows from that time that were on the television that they were mocking were not on television anymore, and the television landscape had changed, and so there was nothing for them to mock anymore. So they kind of the show became a shell of itself, and then they were actually starting to become shows on television, other cartoons that were actually mocking The Simpsons. So they gave like South Park and Family Guy and stuff like that as examples. And then it also said that, yeah, The Simpsons became more pop culture friendly. They were originally mocking pop culture and stuff like that, but then they started having all these celebrity guests and idolizing pop culture, and so because they had to change after so long, because now they didn't have anything to ridicule anymore, so they just kind of like joined the club, I guess. So yeah, so it's been like 20 plus years since the show's been horrible, according to the fans of the show. Like I said, wasn't a big fan of The Simpsons. Like, I watched some newer episodes, so I'm not like a diehard fan and don't understand. I need to try to go back and watch the first 8 seasons. That's what I feel after watching this little documentary. It's really a documentary about why The Simpsons has fallen off. It was very interesting and funny. So now I might want to go back and watch some more episodes of The Simpsons and see why it was so good. But yeah, that's what I thought about that. That's my little take on it. That's my summary of it, and what I took from what they were trying to say, and how I feel about it moving forward. So yeah, that's what it was. The Fall of The Simpsons, How It Happened, by Super Eyepatch Wolf on YouTube. So yeah. Alright, I'm Cory, Ballad. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and like the video. Share the video on other platforms. Visit my blog, corysong.blogspot.com, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye. Let me do my outro. I have to switch my hand to do my outro. So do 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 do.